Welcome to episode 88, Wheel of the Year, Summer Solstice.
Join us as we talk about astronomical reasons behind why we experience the summer solstice, and also how that impacts our spirituality and how it shows up in our rituals and in our personal practices of sun worship.
Stay tuned. Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
Races,
and backgrounds.
with a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true. Our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Welcome to episode 88.
Summer solstice.
Yay! This is one of our Wheel of the Year episodes, and it's we said that already.
We did?
This summer solstice.
Oh, it is summer solstice. And summer solstice is on the Wheel of the Year.
It's on the Wheel of the Year, so there we go.
So we'll do a check-in, and then we'll talk about summer solstice, about how it's on the Wheel of the Year and different practices and what even is summer solstice. And then we'll end with a poem.
Yes, we will. But let's start with that check-in, shall we?
That sounds good. You kind of say that. There's like a tone in your voice as you say that. I'm wondering if you would mind going first. I'm curious what's behind that tone.
So, first off, I just want to say I finished my grading. My grades are in. Woohoo!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a wonderful feeling because it just built, from about the end of April until, now.
Mm-hmm.
It just builds. More stuff, you think you're getting ahead, and more stuff comes in, so you're never really caught up, except for this one moment in time. Give me one moment. So this, I can't begin to tell you that feeling of just all of that stuff just rolling off my back for a moment, and then I will probably pick up a project or something in the next couple of days.
Maybe walk 250 miles.
Maybe walk. That sounds like I don't have enough to do. Let's walk 250 miles, shall we? Let's start in June.
Okay,
great. Good. Anyway, and that's a great feeling. The not so great feeling is I got a late. In one of my classes, they have to do a journal, which is basically for their readings every day. I give them some discussion questions, and they just have to write down their responses to it so that they're prepared for discussion in class. And then at the end of the semester, I collect the journal and grade it. And for most of the students, it's basically 20% of their grade that they know is going to be an A. Because if they just do the stuff and stay on top of it, they get it. I mean, it's not brain surgery. So I got a late one in because, of course, towards the end of the semester, like me, they probably got behind. And so and as I was answering as I was looking at it, checking over it, I said, did I accept this from my other students? It sounded kind of, wishy-washy. And so I went back to look at a couple of journals that I had graded. I'd been grading them over the past week. And so when you do them one at a time, and, you don't really notice patterns as much unless everyone misses the same question or something like that. But in this case, because I went back and looked at them directly one after the other, I noticed that two of them from about the beginning of February, so, 6 classes in, were the exact same. It's not even like because they're getting it from the book. It's not that they just both took the stuff from the book. I mean, the formatting is the same. And then we had presentations, and I asked them to write their responses, like which one that they thought was good, etc. And the response was the same.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it's so heartening. It's so disheartening because this is one of those things where I kind of picture it as a gimme. like 20% of the grade that they don't have to worry about, and someone fell down on the job. Yeah. And obviously borrowed someone else's. They probably borrowed it. Often what happens, because I know this happens a lot, is they borrow it to just make sure that, that they're checking their stuff against, or they might want to see how they wrote stuff, and then they get close to the wire, and it's like so easy to just cut and paste. And anyway, it's taken out of our hands. We don't do, if that's the case, we are bound by the honor code to report it. So I turned that in today, and it's just like, they're both well, I don't want to say any more about them, but they're fortunately it's not interfering with their graduation or anything like that, because they're younger students, they're earlier years. So but it's just, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah. But not too bad, because I've done my grading.
Yes.
That's something I can worry about at the beginning of next semester, right? So,
Yeah, I hear you. And anytime I ever, as a teacher, had something similar to that, I never had a gotcha feeling. I always just had a like wah,
wah, wah, but really bad. Yeah. It's just, and I think students may think of this as kind of this adversarial, where she's like, they're trying to catch us cheating. No, we don't want to catch you cheating. We want you to just do this, whatever. But so that's a little bit of a downer. Yeah.
Oh man.
But because it's so late in the semester, none of the students are on campus, and they're coming back next year, so it'll be handled in August.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So at my institution, the honor council takes it out of my hands. I don't have to, once I report it, which I'm honor bound to report. And if I were a faculty member, a staff member, if I were just someone cleaning the room and I found it, anyone at my institution is duty bound to report it. I made the report because they weren't graduating or anything like that. It's not going to be handled until August. They will probably ask me for copies of the journals or whatever, but I don't have to fail them or anything like that. I don't have to even talk to them about it. In fact, we're not supposed to talk to them about it. And so the idea being that it's given to the honor council, and they handle it.
Wow.
And I do appreciate that, because and the thing about it, because it's mainly students and they have a couple of faculty advisors, they're usually much harsher than I would ever be.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh no, this is cheating. Their sanctions are usually much stricter than I would be. So it's a beautiful system when it has to be invoked. It's just pissy that I'm pissy that it has to be invoked. So and I remember one other thing, and then I'll stop this. We were talking about their presentations, and I said, even if you take a picture off the internet and put it on there for decoration, you are still using someone's work that has to be cited. And I remember saying to them, please don't force me to report you to the honor council.
Yeah.
So so they know that I don't want to do it either. So anyway, that's me. Wah wah wah. I'm over it. Kind of, sort of. No, apparently not, but
Well, I have something that I'm over, and I'd like to check in about. Is that okay?
That's so good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm so glad we're both over something.
I'm over the running industrial complex. That's what I'm over.
Okay, tell us more.
Or as I like to call it, big running.
Big running. Like big pharma.
Yeah. I believe that there is a giant conspiracy to make people think that running is fun. And I know that there are people out there who are like, no, Leilani, I love running. I think you're lying.
I call bullshit.
I think every single person who's like, no, I really enjoy running, you're a liar. Or they're
heard it here, people.
Or they're on cocaine. Like something, or roids. But like, they're amino
acids.
So
tell us, why do you feel this way?
Because, I mean, I've never liked running. I've never liked running. And all of the sports and stuff that I've done that involves any sort of cardiovascular like health, like gymnastics or dance, is like high intensity but smaller bursts.
Yes, exactly.
Like a
fast twitch.
Like an 8-minute routine or a 4-minute song or something like that. It's never like sustained. But also I have scoliosis and one leg is longer than the other, and like I look like a ding dong when I run because like my legs aren't the same length. And if you want to laugh, get me on an elliptical. Because I just like, it's like the dun, like it's, at least I laugh about it.
Okay.
But I've shared this in other episodes, but for Camino prep, I've been running because I don't have time to walk long amounts of time like they suggest. But we're down to the wire and I'm still running. And today, this morning, I ran for the very first time outside. I've been running on a treadmill since October. Mm-hmm. So this is literally the first time in my entire life I've ever ran outside.
For how long?
I ran for 30 minutes. Damn. Which is like, I'm really proud of.
So let me tell you something. I'm sorry.
Yes.
May I?
Please add your energy.
I love how you put that. Add your energy. So I am so totally in awe of you. I am. I think I've mentioned to you that I've done this from couch to 5K program where I was super excited when I got to where you run a minute and then you walk a minute and a half. I mean, it took me a while to get up to that. Okay. And so hearing that you're running for 30 fucking minutes is just, it blows my mind. And I'm just going to touch you. Oh, thank you for letting me touch you. Wow. You are to be commended. That's amazing.
I like your perspective better. I have friends who, like one of my closest handstand friends, he used to be a runner. And so like, I'm kind of like embarrassed, like, oh yeah, I ran for 30 minutes, you know, like, but,
no, I'm sorry. Anyone who runs, I can't speak for them, but I would imagine anyone who runs would have to, okay, let me stop. Okay. If I were a runner, I would recognize the effort that it takes for someone to run consistently for 30 minutes.
Thank you.
So I just don't know what to say. I'm speechless. I'm just speechless because that's amazing.
Thank you so much. I receive your acknowledgement, and I just want to say I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I think
every of those 30 fucking minutes.
Yes, and like the whole time I'm running, like my goal, like the thing that I like look out to, and I'm like my goal is just
if I get there.
And my whole thing is like, after the Camino, fuck this. After the Camino, fuck this. So I hate it, and I hear people talk about runner's highs.
Yeah, the endorphins.
This is not happening. I'm miserable the entire time. I hate it. It's not fun. And I'm listening to music that I love, and I'm in a beautiful space. I hate it.
You hate it. And so you're saying that people who say, "Oh yeah, you get the runner's high," and the thing, they're full of shit.
I think they're part of the running industrial complex.
That they're all gaslighting you.
Yes.
Or so how would you feel if I say this? Could it be that, let's say I ran 30 minutes? Okay, first of all, if you see me running, your ass needs to be running too.
I need to run too. I'm going to be running and looking behind me to see where the wolf is.
Yeah, trust me on this. Okay, but let's say that I did run, and I ran for 30 minutes, and I didn't feel any of that stuff. Could it be perhaps that I wouldn't want to admit that, like everybody else is having a good time, and I ran for 30 minutes, and I'm not having a good time? But I can't admit that because then they'll say, well, maybe were you really running 30 minutes or you know what I mean? So there's like a whole bunch of stuff in there.
It's like the emperor's new clothes. But I'm going to stand here naked and I'm going to say I am naked, and all of y'all saying that running is fun and look at those beautiful clothes. Bullshit. It sucks.
Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your vulnerability. In sharing the fact that you're doing the thing, and it's still not fun.
It is not fun.
So it's like that old book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Yes.
You hate the running, but you're doing it anyway.
Yes, feel the misery, but do it anyway, so I can go on the Camino.
I can go on the goddamn Camino and last the whole day.
Goddamn Camino.
Oh my gosh, I am so in awe. That's just so amazing. Particularly, I mean, I would have been amazed anyway, even if you had come up, oh, I just glow after. And so I would have probably been a little resentful, like, bitch, but whatever. But I would definitely still be in awe. But I'm particularly in awe because you hate every minute of it and you're still doing it. And that is that's to be lauded. I have to say, we need to send up some balloons or something.
Thank you. We'll see as we're on the Camino. Maybe there'll be parts and I'm like, this is great. I ran, so this is nothing. Or I'm going to be like, God damn it. This is still horrible.
Like that fucking... I ran from fucking October.
Since October, and this still sucks. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, so one of the things is I will do like a little mini interview on the Camino and ask you like how your prep has, how's that been working for you? And so thank you. I hope you continue with the vulnerability and the honesty and sharing with that.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Oh, wow.
Well,
so, yeah.
If we can leave behind the running industrial complex. And let's move on to
Summer Solstice. Yay! I'm so excited. Well, we're recording this actually in May, which is fine because we have to do things and we've got to front load because during the summer solstice we'll actually be in Spain.
We won't be in Spain,
where we won't have access to laptops and all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of front loading, but you will be hearing this probably the week before the Friday before the summer solstice.
And summer solstice will be on June 20th of 2024
at 3:50 p.m. Central Time. So, do the math. And the reason, so I'm going to, may I go into a little bit of definition? So the reason why we know the exact time is because there's an astronomical, a method of measuring it.
Is it not astrological?
No, astrological are like the signs.
Oh.
And astronomical are the stars.
Astronomy.
Yes, astronomy.
Got it. Thank you. Okay.
So like, yeah, I know.
Okay.
They sound so alike.
They do.
Yeah. So, and that's because that's the moment when the sun is at its highest due to the fact that the earth tilts, right? So when the moment the earth's tilt is towards the sun is at a maximum, where the sun is at its highest point compared to the earth, right? And that occurs when one of the earth's poles is tilted towards the sun at its most extreme angle. Okay. And due to the earth's tilt, it happens twice a year. So, when on June 20th, 2024, is our summer at 3:50 is our summer solstice. Now, because of the earth's tilt, in the southern hemisphere, the tilt will be away. And so that's their winter solstice, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it happens twice a year, and that's why we get a winter and summer solstice.
Can I just jump in here for one second? When we were at one of our like witchy summer week-long things, and there were people there from Australia, and it was so interesting hearing them talk about their season, like that they were in this moment, and it totally messed with my mind because they're opposite.
Exactly.
And it messes with my mind
to hear them say the months and talk about snow.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And that like we were in summer and they were in winter, and just it's amazing to me how there are these things that are ingrained into my brain, and there's a couple other things we'll talk about today that are like that I realize that I just have ingrained them, but they're really not. They
reflect our location on the planet, and it becomes ingrained because it's all we see, right? So if we traveled a lot and went to New Zealand or Australia, maybe that wouldn't be as ingrained. But there we go.
But for me, it really threw me for a loop.
I know, it's amazing, right? Yeah. So anyway, a part of when we talk about the fact that it's the longest day is because of that tilt. The sun travels its longest path through the sky at that day, and therefore that day has the most daylight. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because of the tilt. And it appears at its highest elevation with a generally kind of like noontime position, 3:50 p.m., right? And what happens is though, let's take a step back. So in March, here, the sun, let's go after daylight saving. Well, let's forget about daylight saving stuff. But, the sun maybe rose at 7:15. And then a few days later, it rose at 7:12. And then a few days later, because as we move closer and closer to the summer solstice, the day gets longer, the sun rises earlier, and it sets later. Okay. And so, but as we get close to the summer, because of the tilt, the difference between the couple of days before and the couple of days after is really measured in like the seconds or nanoseconds. And so because it doesn't seem to be changing from day to day, the ancients call this the sun staying still. It seemed like for 3 or 4 days we didn't see that change where it rose earlier and it set later. It just kind of stays still for a moment, and that's where we get the term solstice, which is sol, sun, and stisse, which is remains or resting.
Wow.
So that's where we get the solstice.
And I never connected sol, S-O-L, like summer and winter solstice to that word soul. And now it's going to forever be in my brain.
Yes.
That is so obvious. And also it had never occurred to me.
Because it's just a word. You know, it's like if we talk about how much we get into etymology.
Yeah.
And some things we don't examine. And this is one of those words that we, like, when you think about it, oh yeah, it makes sense, but we never thought about it.
Yeah, like
right?
Thursday is Thursday.
Yes,
and like
exactly.
I tell that to people and they're like, what? You know, and I'm like, come on people, don't you ever think about the days of the week?
I know.
Well, here.
No,
like,
they don't.
no.
Wednesday is Odin's Day.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
And
okay.
Friday is
Freya's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah.
Yes. So yeah.
Yeah. Just, it blows my mind.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on astronomically. But what I'd like to, and that's great to know. But what I'd like to talk more about is, who cares? Like, why should we care?
I do as a witch.
And other people do too, right?
Yeah,
and maybe jumping into that a little bit. And so one of the things is we talk about this one astronomical event. Different cultures think of it in different ways. So for some, they consider that, like we consider that the first day of summer. Or about the first day of summer.
So you consider summer solstice the first day of summer?
In the United States.
So I always think about it as the peak of summer.
Midsummer. So a lot of European cultures think of it as they call it midsummer. So like a Midsummer's Night's Dream. The Sondheim thing. But anyway, so songs of it doesn't matter. Anyway,
but I wonder because I saw that you had written that. And I wonder if it's because I'm a teacher and I the first day of summer for me is my first day after work.
So summer is kind of a flexible concept. It depends on when you can get out and actually enjoy the sun.
And summer solstice marked the zenith of summer for me. But then whenever you say in our culture it does mark the first day of summer, like, well, yeah, that's because like spring equinox is the first day of spring, so summer solstice is technically the first day of summer. But I guess in my heart and the way I've lived it is that it's like the peak of summer.
And that makes sense as a witch because for many of these cultures, May Day is the beginning of summer, and so Beltane for us, and that's kind of that's. So spring, the flowers are just starting to show up. We have a riot of flowers at May Day. So that is, to me, the way I consider it the beginning of summer. And so I always think of it as midsummer too. And then I realized when I was having conversations with people, we were not having the same conversation. So I now use summer solstice when I talk to them. But yeah, I remember my grandmother used to call it midsummer.
Did she really? Aww.
Yeah. But she said midsummer.
Oh.
Because she was in Box Springs. So there we go. So yeah. So
but there are cultures that so you're saying predominantly in the United States it's viewed as the beginning of summer, but in other parts of the world it's considered the peak of summer.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We're a younger culture, right? So we kind of inherited some stuff from previous cultures, but we also prize science. And according to the scientific way of thinking about it, it's the beginning of this new season. And so in the United States, it's just easier for us to go by that.
Right.
Though we do have vestiges of the various traditions that many of us have come from. Whereas in Europe, they have much more long-standing traditions that as a culture they celebrate. And because their culture just grows and they stay in that culture, it doesn't change as dramatically as it would if people from various cultures are coming to a new place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It does. Could we talk about some of those cultural celebrations?
Yeah. So for example, I'm trying to think. So let's actually. Yeah. So one of the things that I'm getting so excited about because I've been following a lot of megalithic things because of our. Work with the the Camino, there were kind of things that I kind of knew, kind of like the word solstice, like, but I never really actually dug into. And so I knew that there were various Neolithic buildings, etc., that were built to respond to the solstices, right? So, for example, well, this is actually the winter solstice, but in Newgrange in Ireland, there is a place that at the how does this work? At midday on the winter solstice, the sun shines into this one room that the rest of the time it doesn't shine into, or something like that. Yeah. So, a certain place in the room is illuminated by the sun, and it only happens at winter solstice. So there's a number of buildings that have been built to chart the movement of the sun. I believe that Avesbury and maybe Stonehenge probably.
And other places too.
Yeah.
And even and we had even talked about on the Camino, like the Druid altar.
Yes, yeah. So our Solis.
Our Solis.
Yes.
Okay.
So where it's meant to reflect a certain position of the sun at some sort of time, because these people recognize the power of the sun and consider it to have godlike powers.
Yeah, and I have an iPhone, and I couldn't even tell you where the sun is at a certain time, And I'm like carrying around a piece of technology that is better than what got us to the moon. But these people back then, yeah, it's amazing.
It's always sorry. It's always amazing to me to realize that, like you said, these people who have very little technology manage to take these huge, heavy stones. That weigh 25 times more than everybody in their village, and they managed to put them in such a place where on a certain period, let's say a solstice, the light will shine on them a certain way.
And can you imagine like that one guy, Greg, and he's like, no, it's good enough, and it's like, no, that this 3-ton stone needs to be shifted 2 inches that way,
to the left.
And Greg is like, nah, it's good, I'm sure it's good.
Gregorio, who was then stoned later when they realized that their harvest was not going to come in.
Exactly.
Stoned, get it?
Get it stoned. Oh, I thought you did that on purpose.
I didn't.
Oh,
it was like I caught it later. Because I hang around with you. Yeah, so there we go. So anyway, but we digress. Where were we? So places like Sweden, it's one of the days that they, schools are closed.
Wow.
Yeah, summer solstice. It's like Christmas, summer solstice. It's a major, and I would imagine places where they, at certain parts of the winter, they get no sun. So here's a place where I think it's almost 24 hours of sun.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a big deal.
I would really love to do that. I've heard that there are like really great celebrations when it's like 24 hours of sunlight.
Yeah, because people just lose their minds.
Yes. Yeah. Like literally, like it impacts us. I also, but this is, I'm trying to avoid talking about winter solstice, but I do think it'd be fun to go to the places that are dark for 24 hours.
Oh, I'm so totally. Well, so one of the things I want to talk about is, how I've kind of evolved so that I do appreciate the sun more. I've been like the moon, nighttime, dark. That was my jam, and it still is my jam. But I can be flexible. I can be non-binary. Or I guess that is binary still.
They're still binary.
They're still binary. But I can appreciate both sides of the binary.
Yes.
Of the division. So shall we talk a little bit about like our celebrations?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the things, our circle, we have a summer solstice ritual, and there's a couple of traditional parts about it. Would you like to share some of it?
Yeah. One thing that we do every summer solstice is we write. We have a time for letter writing, and it's in a ritual space. So we've like cast the circle and done all of our normal ritual work there. And then as part of our ritual workings, we will write a letter to ourselves that will then be delivered to ourselves on winter solstice.
So we're basically writing from our summer solstice self to our winter solstice self.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, I've been in this circle for a long time now, and every dang year I get that letter and I'm surprised.
I know, I get it. And I said, wow, that handwriting. I even say my stupid things like that handwriting. Look,
like this is
who's writing to him, and I say because it's my craft name.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's up with that?
Yeah.
And then yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, this is a pretty envelope with stamps all over it. Who said? Oh gosh, I picked this envelope.
Isn't that funny how we forget?
Yeah.
And I think part of our psyche wants to forget, right?
I
So
think
we can get that surprise.
And then every year I read the letter, I'm like, oh shoot,
Isn't
I wrote
it perfect?
this. Yeah.
It's always perfect. It's always perfect.
Yes.
It's just amazing. Like how did I think this?
And
right?
I normally ask myself questions in the letter, like, how was it being brave whenever you did this?
Wow.
What was it like for you whenever this happened? How did this situation resolve? And what did you do? Like if there are big things in my life, like I ask myself questions so that when I get the letter, I'm like, oh yeah, that thing did happen.
I never think to do that. I'm usually writing like, you can do this kind of stuff, which I also need to hear. Yeah. But I like that because that'll give me an opportunity to kind of reflect. Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. So that's one of the things we do. But what I love about this is, like I said, up until recently, the summer solstice was it's nice, and I like the interesting things about it. But we have a couple of women in our group who are like into the sun, and they into the summer solstice. Yeah. So one member of our circle, in facilitating a summer solstice ritual, a member who has been on our podcast,
the Pagan Feminist Astrologer episode, if you want to go back.
She's very much into sun goddesses, and I believe I'm trying to remember, but I think we had somewhere between 12 to 24.
We had so many
sun goddesses
hanging out with us that ritual.
Didn't we have like little crowns?
Oh yeah.
Crowns
Oh
my gosh. So yeah, like not every freaking sun goddess, but pretty much the major ones.
Oh my gosh,
they were there.
That was during the beginning of like the process of me learning how to be on a ritual team, and I remember it blew my mind. I was like, what is going on? But she had it down. Like she knew what and this is, and I don't want to speak for her, but I'm kind of am, but like, you know, it was one of those like sacred downloads where I think only by speaking to the sacred could one get something so complicated and have it work so beautifully.
Oh my God, there were so many. I remember there were so many moving parts, so many moving goddesses.
Yeah, so many moving goddesses,
so many moving parts, and it was amazing. You know, it was one of those things where it sounds like it would be a lot of not clashing, but there's a lot going on. It was amazing, and it was just. And my big takeaway from that is this huge, like bombastic, like almost like a solar flare. You know, this big sun that just kind of. I can barely remember anything else except the crowns, but you know, and so unlike me, who's just moving towards sun worship, this is someone who was like. In it,
yes,
in it, totally in it, and took us with her.
Yes,
totally took us with her. So that's one. You know, we have obviously we have one every year, and each one's going to be different, with the exception of the letter writing. That's the one constant. But and I have to say that this is a model for me as I move more and more towards appreciating and worshiping the sun. So shall we talk about kind of like our individual stuff?
Yeah, that sounds good. So. Okay, I kind of mentioned this before, but like my big thing about summer solstice is I look at it as the day to honor the longest day, but then knowing that now every single day after it, the days get shorter, and now I'm transitioning into the dark time of the year. So that's how I feel. And something I'm currently working on is honoring it in the moment. And this is something that's true for me in my life. I very much am a person of transition, a person who's moving from one thing to the next, and sitting in something is not, that's not really where my brain is wired to be. So like, I really would like to honor being in that moment and holding that moment more. But I think that's why I like spring and fall so much, because
it's moving. Yeah.
I like liminal spaces. I like transition. But it is like this bittersweet feeling for me of knowing that here is the light. I'm gonna honor it for what it is. This day is long. Like, look at what time the sun rose. Look at what time the sun set. But knowing it's gonna start slipping away.
Yeah.
And
I wonder. Oh, good.
And that being said, I do really enjoy. Like I do really enjoy. I am in connection with the sun through outdoor activities. Like, I always make it a point in the summer, when it has to do with water, because we're in South Texas and it's hot.
As hell.
It's hot. And, like you mentioned, the earth is tilted and that tilt is towards the sun. I really feel like I could reach out and touch the sun. Like in South Texas, it's like 3 inches from my face. It's like
burning.
It's like that person who has no personal bubble and they just like come right up to me and I'm like, whoa, like the sun is right
Back off,
there.
sun.
Right? So I do feel that, but I do love to like be outside, especially in water. Like there's rivers here and things like that I love making the connection with the sun in that way. And I work at a summer camp too. But I am also wondering about, I'm hoping that our walk on the Camino, which is connected to like an ancient Druid sun worshiper practice for that area, I'm really hoping that to connect with the sun in that way, in a way that I haven't before, and really start working with it in a way that's really seated in my spirit in a way that it hasn't been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just so sorry that we're not going to actually be there for the solstice.
Well, I know we're really close.
Yeah, we're like 3 days before or something.
Yeah,
2 days, whatever.
Yeah,
but
2 days before.
Yeah, 2 days before. So, which is still pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that I thought about as you were saying that you like moving through, and so the summer solstice is kind of bittersweet for you. I'm wondering if the sun can, if maybe the sun can be your model, because remember the sun is staying. And that can be a model for you, just as the sun for a moment, for a day or two, stays in the same place. Okay, wait. Just for our people who cannot see, Leilani, she's sitting back. She's contemplating.
Fuck.
I mean, there we go. We literally have an astronomical model for us.
You know what I'm telling myself? I was like, it's okay. It's only for a few days.
You can do this. You can do this.
I can do that. I'm like,
you can do this.
Shh, it's just for a few days, Leilani.
And you can also celebrate not running anymore.
Right. Yes.
So you can shoot for the solstice. Shoot for the solstice. So, wow.
Seriously, you're blowing my mind.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Because of the staying still part?
Yeah. For summer and winter solstice. Because I view I'm trying not to talk about winter solstice on this episode,
okay.
but everything is framed through winter solstice. Winter solstice is that brief pause before the days start growing longer. And it's bittersweet knowing the darkness is going to leave.
It changes, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to need some... I'm going to be talking to you about this as we walk the Camino.
Okay.
We aren't going to have other things to do because we're just going to be walking for hours and hours all day.
We'll have plenty of time for conversation.
I've already started a list of things to talk to you about, by the way. Things I have questions
like,
about.
We can talk about it now, or we can just put it on our list for the Camino. Well, yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, but isn't that amazing? And it's one of the things, so I remember when I did my oral exams. So it's a written part, and then you actually have the oral part. But that's kind of the end of your doctoral coursework, and then you start your dissertation. And I remember one of the professors, I saw them at lunch, because it's like you're there all morning, you're there all afternoon for like 2 or 3 days straight. And seeing them at lunch, and they were treating us all to lunch because they knew we were like totally fagged. And I remember one of the professors saying to me, "You realize this is the smartest you'll ever be, because all that stuff's crammed in there, and you've got to spit it out." And I just remember being sad, like, well, hell, is this? I mean, of course, there's imposter syndrome and stuff, but
of course, yeah.
Is this the smartest? This is the smartest I'm ever going to be. And it was kind of tongue in cheek, but
it's kind of real.
But it's kind of real, right?
Like you'll get more knowledge about other things, like as you do some research. But like this is like
the concentrated music history, theory stuff. And so I think about that when for that, those 2 days or whatever. This is the highest the sun is ever going to be. Fortunately, it's the wheel of the year. Right. So it's the highest it's going to be for the next 364 5 days. But, so but still.
Wow.
And then everything changes. It all changes. Its path, its road starts to get shorter with each passing day.
Like, I'm feeling like I want to cry right now. Like,
Don't worry. The sun will be back.
Like people, I don't know if our listeners understand like how much I learn when I'm in your presence and we talk.
Well, how much we learn, how much we both learn.
I just speaking for myself, like I'm just sitting here on your futon in your craft room, and my mind is getting blown. And I have had the privilege of knowing you and talking with you for almost 20 years now, or coming up on 20 years. And like even so, like I'm still sitting here and I'm like almost crying as I listen to you talk, and like I'm learning and growing. Like,
and, well, as am I. I mean, half of the stuff I didn't know until we were looking it up for the episode, right? So, but isn't it? But I think what it is there's the fact, and there's the implication of the fact, and then there's how I respond to those implications, and that I think maybe that could be a part of this experience. But wow. So why don't I tell you a little bit of my thought about it? Well, I actually started sharing some of this.
Okay.
So I'm a black woman, in case you had...
Wait, what?
What? I know I've been holding out on you.
That's not in the intro of our podcast.
And quite frankly, I don't need to tan. And I for the longest time, I hated the sun. I hated summer. I loved winter. I loved the coolness. I love the fact that when it's cold, you can always put on more clothes or, set something on fire or something like that. But in winter, there's only so much you can take off and still be accepted.
Yeah.
you know, so I hated the sun. I hated sweating. I hated, I just hated the whole summer experience. The only time I liked the summer was when I was on the beach or on a mountain, because half the time and if I was on a beach, I looked for a cabana. I wasn't like one of those, I'm going to sit out and no, not doing that. Anyway, and having, I think because of, really exploring the world around me as a witch. So I would say that that's begun to change in the past, like 15 to 20 years, where I'm appreciating more the implications of the sun, the symbolism of the sun, but I'm also, and this is relatively recent, appreciating the life-giving aspects of the sun. So there's a couple of places where people are, we talk about, I'm going to go out and make some vitamin D, right? The fact that there's certain parts of our lives that will not be healthy if we don't have sun. Or we can buy chemical, like vitamin D supplements or whatever. But I mean, to really have a healthy, full life, I've got to spend some time out in the sun.
Vitamin D is connected to everything from like your sex life to like joint pain, your gums.
Like
it's like vitamin D is it is bananas.
It's bananas. Or maybe,
or it's not in bananas. I don't know if it's in bananas.
But anyway,
but it's wild.
It's incredible
how linked into all these different parts of ourselves.
And that's only recently been discovered. Everyone just thought vitamin D, blah blah blah. But let's put it in our milk. We don't need to get some. We can just put it in our milk, right? But now they're beginning to realize that without vitamin D, you can't absorb this, you can't do that. You can. So it's and it makes a big difference. Like you say, your libido, just your muscle fiber and stuff like that. So I've only begun to appreciate that. So now I do things. So I walk my dog every morning. I mosey with Snow because he doesn't walk real fast. And when I'm out there, I try, when he's like sniffing the ground for, 10 minutes, I try to position myself between the trees so I can sun gaze. So the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day, you can look directly at the sun. It's actually healthy to look at the sun.
What?
Yes, because you're getting the golden red ray. Like when the sun is high, it's basically white, some blue. And I guess yellow rays, I'm not sure. But that's why sunsets are so brilliant. Sunrises and sunsets are so brilliant because of the angle of the sun coming over the horizon, we get more of the reds and the violets and the golds and something else.
And I can look at it?
And you can look at it. So I'm not going to suggest you stare, but you can actually build up to I would say start like 30 seconds of sun. It's called sun gazing. And where you just look at the sun, and it actually improves the cones of your eyes. The cones of your eyes. Yeah, I think it's the cones. It's the cones or the other thing. The rods. It's one of them. Okay. But it helps them to. It just makes them healthier. What? Yes. But only the first hour. After that, like, you know, all bets are off. Yeah. But you can still kind of glimpse, but you just don't stare. And so and build up to it. But, you know, things like that I hadn't thought about, and I'm only now learning and recognizing and appreciating that. And so what has happened for me is I've kind of developed a little bit of sun worship. I mean, like, so, you know, the sun as a divine entity without which I can't be me. And so, so I'm, you know, I sun gaze. I for a while I was going to say, oh, I'm going to catch this. I'm going to walk snow at the sunrise and be out there. It just, you know.
Oh, I was going to say that sounds so lovely.
It is. It sounds lovely.
It does sound lovely.
It sounds lovely. And it's like I look at my watch. It's like, oh, 7:30. Okay, never mind. You know, but now I'm trying to catch the sunsets. Oh, okay. Because it's the, you know, it's the opposite end of that. And it's the same idea, and I'm up. You know? So but I try, you know, I'm trying to, that was me being a little bit more realistic. And so I as I do, the more I do it, the more I am just so in awe of the power of the sun. And so I think there might be something more happening for me. It may start on the Camino, I'm not sure. Where I'm a little bit more maybe devoted to the practice, but we'll see. But some of my friends who are less interested in the divine nature of the sun, but there's charts. I mean, there are people who are like the sun spectrum, and every day they chart the solar flares and this, that, and the other, and I don't even know how to read those things. But one of the things that they talk about is how some places show the correlation between like the number of car accidents and sun activity, et cetera, et cetera. And so it does have, like the moon, it does have an impact. As human beings with free will, we have control over a number of over our response to it, but the actual effect is there. And so one of the things I'm going to be exploring is like, what does that mean for me? What, you know, knowing that, what do I do with that?
Wow. I mean, so it sounds like we both have a relationship with the sun that we're seeking to cultivate deeper levels too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where we are with that. But, you know, this is one of those days for me that the summer solstice has always been tied up with, you know, school getting out and joy and fun. And usually the first day of summer, you look ahead and it looks like the summer is going to be forever, right? It's a moment where you're standing still like the sun and thinking it's always going to be like that. Well, it's not, as we know.
Right.
I mean, you know, after a couple of days, that sun starts dropping fast. But so I have this kind of non-spiritual association with it that I'm hoping will kind of kind of infuse some of the other things that I've been learning.
Wow. I am excited. So I did not plan to talk about the Camino on this episode, but now I am. But I'm so excited for us to be walking this path of sun worship, and after having this conversation with you, knowing that wow, I guess as our listeners are listening to this, we will be...
That's right.
We will be walking in Spain on the Camino, on this sun worshiper path. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you can go back and search our episodes, and that we have a number of episodes about the Camino Primitivo and the Camino de Santiago.
Indeed.
And also we mentioned it a couple times as we talked, but this is a part of our Wheel of the Year series. So you can go back and listen. If you look in our archives, we have episodes on other times of the Wheel of the Year, which is like if we think of time as a circle instead of a line, and the summer solstice is on one side, and then immediately across from that is the winter solstice. And then also then if you do the counter cross of that, so like the other crossing, it's spring equinox and autumn equinox.
Our poem is called funnily enough, called Summer Solstice.
Whoa, what a coincidence.
And it's written by Molly Reamer, who is a priestess, creatrix, and teacher. She has an MDiv, and she has a Doctor of Ministry degree. But she also is someone who has been gathering women to circle, sing, and celebrate since like 2008. She's also associated with a number of different witchy groups. And this poem that we're going to be reading is from a wonderful calendar called We Moon, W-E apostrophe Moon. This was from last year's.
And you can get this if you just Google We Moon. You can like order them. They have wall calendars. They have like little like pocket calendar type things.
Yes, it's Mother Tongue Inc. is INK is the name of the publishing company, and she also has books published by them. Okay.
Just as a side note, it's actually really fun to have the wee moons because
oh my gosh, they're amazing.
I think they're ways to inject magicalness into literally your day-to-day life because it's like on your calendar.
Like you can't miss it.
You can't miss it.
Exactly.
It's like right there.
And it's a lot of, poetry and beautiful imagery, and so that's We Moon. And this is Molly Reamer's poem, Summer Solstice. As we gather round the sacred fire of summer's peak, hands joined, the ribbon of time may fold, and suddenly we see many things at once. Those from history who were burned, their stories lost, their wisdom silenced.
Those who are currently persecuted, their voices crying out, if only we will take time to look and listen. The steadily warming planet and how little time we have left to slow the burning. The wildfires that sweep across the land, howling at us to pay attention, to act, to change our course. Let us spread our arms out under this great wide sky and let the magic of being alive fill us with fire.
Let us lift our arms to the sun and be restored and renewed by the heart of passion, the heat of longing, the warmth of pleasure. As the streaming light of purposeful joy replenishes our hearts, may we allow the wild magic of this time and space to restore our knowing that today is still fertile with possibility to do good work and to rejoice.
Thank you for sharing this wild magic with us as we discuss summer solstice on our Wheel of the Year journey.
We hope you have enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
It would be great if you would help make Witchy Wit possible and get access to exclusive content by donating on Patreon.
We'd love it if you join our Witchy community and enjoy shareable content on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Would you do us a big favor and support us by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts? It's free and helps witchy folks find us.
Feel free to email us at witchywitpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our community. Reach out and let us know what's brewing in your cauldron.
New episodes are released every second and fourth Friday. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so our episodes go right to your playlist. You can listen as you ride your broom.
Stay witchy, y'all!